Grandfather Misha was a great man, well known as an undertaker and a bohemian. He enjoyed working and drinking in the company of many friends. A man who found his place in the book of the most respected people in the village of Irig, where he lived. Irig is a small village on the slopes of Mount Fruška Gora in Serbia, with about 4,000 residents. There are numerous stories related to his life, some of which have to be told in this book, but the ones that concern us are always our favorite and most memorable. I was very young, perhaps less than 6 years old. My teachers were three grandfathers. Why and how we will talk in another story. One of those grandfathers was me father's father, Grandfather Misha. As everyone's favorite, I was rarely forbidden anything. I ran around and enjoyed my childhood. All sorts of mischief accompanied the eternal running. However, even with all the permits, I used to be able to cross the border, but none of me loved ones spared the fines. There were various things, from admonitions and the ban on eating sweets to the most difficult form, lessons in words. One of them came from Grandfather Misha. For me, the memory of the activities before this event is very faint. Running around the yard, playing with ropes and forever interesting games, and making traps for everyone who lived with me was what satisfied me childish need for play. I have always found it challenging to be a hunter. I hunted parents, sisters, and people passing through our house. There was no shortage of ideas or tools for their realization. The house was packed with anything and everything that could be used for various serious things, but also for playing from a point of view. That day, Grandfather sat at the table with one of his friends. I don't even know who he was or what he looked like. I only remember that he was shorter than me grandfather. I could smell that they were starting to eat. I dashed through the kitchen into their room. I said hello and sat to the left of me grandfather, who was at the head of the table since a friend was already seated to his right. I shouted that I wanted to eat too. In a minute, my grandmother appeared, bringing a plate and utensils. Grandpa asked if I was hungry since I had eaten a bit before. I shouted yes. I grabbed a fork and took all the cabbage to me plate as if nothing else was on the table. I did that so fast in front of the nose of me grandfather's friend that the man didn't have time to take the cabbage. I sat smiling with me knees on the chair and a full plate of cabbage. Grandpa was unhappy that no cabbage was left for his friend, although there was more than enough for everyone initially. He turned to me very seriously and, without anger, said that now he must eat all the cabbage he took on the plate. Seeing me grandfather so severe, and whom I rarely had the chance to see like this, I immediately started to cry. All in tears, I wanted to run away, but me grandfather told me not to move until I had eaten what I had taken out of my plate. He didn't need to do anything. A word was enough. He had to be listened to. I ate cabbage crying, while his friend explained to me grandfather that it didn't matter, that he didn't want to eat it anyway. My grandfather explained to him that while children are young, they must learn some basic life principles on which every honest and good person is based. One of them is to eat everything from the plate. Always finish what's on your plate, as some have nothing and would do anything to have what you do. Only take as much as you can eat. Don't to be greedy like I was. I took everything, leaving nothing for me grandfather's friend. We knew the moment me grandfather spoke to me that I would never be able to eat all that cabbage, even if I were as big as me grandfather. And I was tinny. Although I didn't realize it then, my grandfather certainly did. He knew that the foundations he instilled in me personality then became guides for me entire life. Gluttony, which is indulged in when we are young, tends to develop. If me grandfather had stayed quiet back then and let me leave a cabbage uneaten that I could he consume without consequence, without saying a word, it would have influenced me to be that way in the future or even worse. Although the friend claimed he did not like cabbage, he did so only because he greatly valued and respected me grandfather. It's much worse that being so small, didn't even pay attention to the man sitting across from me, stranger to me, but a friend to me grandfather. The man ran out of cabbage, and me, without showing any empathy and concern for others. I wondered to myself why me grandfather had acted like that and why he was scolding me for the cabbage. But he saw something much more significant. The basis of a good person is empathy and caring for others. Grandfather saw that I did not have her and reacted. That experience marked the beginning of me compassion and concern for others. Is it possible that every beginning of something good in us people must be followed by some traumatic experience? Maybe this is true. If each of us asks himself what is the first thing he remembers from his childhood, he will most certainly say that it is some traumatic or remarkable experience. Someone remembers a broken arm, leg, or head. Someone remembers a pet or some harsh words. Nurture your children's ability to empathize, as it shapes how they interact with others, whether strangers or family members. It's such an important quality that enriches their relationships. Children's learning during their formative years will impact their lives and society. Imagining a country full of children like it was before learning this from me grandfather. If anyone thinks this is trivial, probably none of you would have cabbage.